Hello, everybody, and welcome to 38 Weeks to Go, your weekly podcast about fantasy football. How is everybody feeling? How are your holidays? I hope you had a Merry Christmas, and I hope you a wonderful new year of being a manager. Now that that is out of the way, how was Gameweek 18? Let me air my frustrations with you. Now, I look at the result, I see West Ham 1, Southampton 0, and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. So I go look at my team. I see Fabianski, 1 point. He got injured. Now I'm watching the Man City game. I still have Haaland for whatever reason. He gets a penalty. I'm like, will he score this one? I hope he does. But something at the bottom is telling me maybe he will miss. And then guess what? The penalty is saved. 0 points. And then I'm like, surely Kulusevski has scored in the last 5 games. He will definitely do something against Nottingham Forest. Forest 1, Spurs 0. So I have Dragusin who gave me 1, Kulusevski who gave me 2. And then I have Sells on the bench who gave me 8. As I'm watching the game, I get a notification. Goal scored. Brentford 1, Brighton 0. I look and then I see, oh, it's Wissa. Wissa scored away from home. Yes. Then, a few moments later, goal disallowed. And then I'm like, okay, I still have Arsenal to go. I have brought in Gabriel Jesus. The man has scored 5 goals in 2 games. Ipswich, surely this game is going to be a rout. No, it was 1-0. 2 points. Other people had variations of this. They're like, oh, the best Saka replacement is Bruno Fernandes. What does Bruno do? He goes and gets himself sent off for the 3rd time this season. A bunch of people were like, okay, let's bring in Nicholas Jackson. What does he do? He scored now 1 goal in the last 5 games. A lot of people came on to Ahmad. Ahmad hasn't returned since they stopped playing him as a right back. Some others brought in Enzo. Enzo's like, well, now that I've made my point, I'm not going to score anymore. Somebody else was like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring in Luis Diaz. What does Luis Diaz do? 0. Just as I finish talking trash about Ait Nouri, he keeps another clean sheet. And some people brought in Trent after losing Saka, and they concede. Saka got more points than Bruno Fernandes this week. And on Jesus, how does a man called Jesus not score on Christmas? Flekken also, just like Fabianski, got removed for being injured. And they kept a clean sheet. I know there are a lot of people who have been hanging on to Flekken. I know that pain. I know somebody who removed Timber for Trent, Saka for Bruno, Cunha for Jesus. Pain. I know somebody else who removed Cunha to bring on Duran because people thought Cunha would get suspended. Somebody else removed Saka for Bruno, all to get -4. Anyway, let's move on. The highest scoring game this week was Newcastle 3, Aston Villa 0. This game saw John Duran get sent off, and I feel that really changed how the game could have been. The red card is so divisive because you have people thinking that it wasn't a red card, and for others it was a clear red card. Aston Villa were one of those people who naturally thought that this was a debatable red card, and they tried to appeal it and they have failed. Gordon, Isak, and Joelinton scored. Jacob Murphy and Joelinton had the assists. Joelinton had the 3 bonus points. Isak and Gordon had 2. This was arguably the marquee game of the weekend. I don't think there was a bigger game than this. Now, the real highest scoring game of the weekend was Liverpool 3, Leicester 1. This game started with Leicester taking the lead and breaking everybody's hearts who thought Liverpool would keep a clean sheet. I don't know why, but for me, I feel like Maddison was not doing a good job compared to Kelleher. But that's just me. Ayew scored a really good goal. took advantage of the small man Robertson marking him. And for a little bit of the first half, it really looked like Leicester had a good plan to keep Liverpool out. And then it all unraveled when Gakpo scored a really beautiful goal. Before you know it, Jones has scored. And then, of course, the Egyptian king can't leave without making his mark on a game. 3-1, the score is. McAllister has 2 assists. Gakpo has 1. Gakpo finished with 3 bonus points. Salah had 2. Jones had 1. There were 2 disappointing games this weekend, and I honestly don't know which one was more disappointing than the other. Chelsea 1, Fulham 2. Football is a game of 2 halves, and this game was one of those that really exemplifies that. Chelsea score first through Palmer, a really good goal. Smooth finish. It looks like, okay, Chelsea are going to rout these guys. I mean, they haven't lost to Tottenham at Stamford Bridge since like 1979. Excellent. And then second half comes, and it's like the guys who were there in the first half substituted themselves with, I don't even know what. Anyway, second half begins, and Fulham dominate this match from the first to the last whistle of the second half. When Harry Wilson came on, I was a bit worried because this man tends to score late goals. And I always struggle with him as a fantasy prospect because I'm like, I know this guy has a potential to deliver, but I know I'm getting 1 point, and if he fails to deliver, I finish with 1, and if you guys look at it, I finish with 0. Anyway, he comes on and he scores. And then Muniz scores at the death. 2-1 it finishes. Chelsea really aren't contenders, and maybe that's put this story to bed. Somehow, and I really do mean somehow, Palmer got 3 bonus points. Muniz got 2, and Lukic got 1. The assists came from Colwill for Chelsea and Castagne and Lukic for Fulham. Now, when it comes to the most disappointing match, it probably is Wolves 2, Manchester United 0. From a footballing perspective, it really seems like Man U are a bit unlucky right now. It always seems like their keeper is allowed to be targeted, and I don't understand why. Because in the cup against Tottenham and in this game against Wolves, to me it felt like the goalkeeper has been impeded. But anyway, that doesn't matter. The goals stood. It really seems like the new manager bounce is over for Amorim, and the new manager bounce is real and true for Pereira on the other end. I don't know what needs to happen. Actually, I do know. But Amad Diallo needs to go back to right back. This experiment is over. It has failed. Ever since he moved him away from the right back, he hasn't been playing the same way. He's not anywhere nearly as dangerous as he was. And it's kind of like how Aït-Nouri wasn't as effective towards the end for Wolves because he wasn't being given the same instructions. This is the same situation. Bruno, of course, got himself red carded in this game. Cunha scored a lovely goal straight from the corner, just like Son did against Manchester United. Actually, a thought which I've been having nowadays is that when it comes to corner taking, because of what Arsenal have been doing, it seems like the league is either going to have to stop it or allow everybody to do what Arsenal is doing. And so far, it seems like a lot of people are going to copy Arsenal, and this will become a problem. Then it will all be banned together. Anywho, Cunha scored, and the Korean guy scored for the first time this season. It seems like last season was his season, and now it's back to F. Cunha had the assist. Cunha got the 3 bonus points. Totti got 2. Doherty and Jose Sa got 1 bonus point apiece. There was 7 clean sheets this game week. Let's look at the top performers this game week. Verbruggen, 9 points, along with Pickford, who saved a penalty from Haaland. Kepa, 8 points. Sells, 8 points. Jose Sa, 8 points. And those are the top 5 keepers. When it comes to defenders, Timber, 9 points, along with Van Hecke, Wan-Bissaka, 9 points. Huijsen, Veltman, Murillo, Mavropanos, Totti, 8 points. When it comes to midfield, Joelinton, 13, Elanga, 11, Palmer, 10, Gordon, 10, Salah, and Bernardo Silva, 9. Midfield was still king, but not as dominant as it has been in the past. When it comes to strikers, Gakpo, 12, Cunha, 12, Ndiaye, 9, Isak, 8, Havertz and Muniz, 7. Let's go over some stats over the weekend. In his last 5 appearances, João Pedro has received 0 big chances and has created 0 big chances. Maybe it's time to sort of move away from him. Over the last 5 game weeks, Isak is the only forward with a higher expected goal involvement than Kai Havertz. Isn't that interesting? Random FPL fact, December 29th, today, is the last day to use your wild card, if you haven't used it for the first half of the season. Solly marches back, his first appearance for Brighton since October 2023. Just listen to this. Salah, before the 60th minute, 3 goals, 9 assists, the equivalent of 42 points. 60th minute and after, 13 goals, 2 assists, equivalent of 71 points. Now, this man shows up. That's basically what this is saying. Matthias Cunha is the 7th player to reach 100 points this season. Mo Salah is the first player in Premier League history to score or assist in 10 plus consecutive games in 3 different seasons. Vitor Pereira is the first Wolves manager to win his opening 2 Premier League games in charge. He has already won as many league games this season as Gary O'Neill. Manchester City have now won just 1 of their last 13 matches. Since Manchester City's 2-2 draw with Arsenal, Haaland has missed more clear-cut goal-scoring opportunities, 11, than any other Premier League player. Stay humble, eh? In Jordan Pickford's last 3 Premier League appearances, he has kept a clean sheet versus Arsenal, kept a clean sheet versus Chelsea, and saved a penalty versus City. He has made 13 saves and prevented 3.1 goals. Saturday the 28th was the first Saturday during the season without any team from England in any of the top 4 tiers playing a game since 2022. No side has kept more clean sheets than Arsenal, which is 7, and no team has conceded fewer goals than them, which is 16. Ipswich attempted 3 shots against Arsenal. Of the 7 occasions that a side has managed 3 or fewer shots in the Premier League this season, 3 of them have been against Arsenal. Well done. 2 0-0 draws with the most combined shots in the Premier League this season have both involved Brentford. 36 versus Brentford and 32 versus Everton. Cunha had a hand in 22 Premier League goals in 2024, 16 goals and 6 assists. The only Brazilian with more goals and assists in a single year in the Premier League is Coutinho. That shows you what kind of a season this man is having. Collectively, the 2 Manchester clubs have lost 9 matches in all competitions in December. United 5 and City 4. The most in a single month since April 1971, which was also 9. A bit of a cheeky one. The last time Manchester City won a game, Erik ten Hag was in charge, which means that it has been 3 managers since Man City won. Mo Salah has been involved in 27 Premier League goals this season, 16 goals, 11 assists, the most by a player from the start of the season until December. This is the first time this has happened in Premier League history. Early in the season, I said he might end up being the Premier League's greatest ever player. Bum, bum, bum. Manchester United are the first side in the Premier League era to lose 5 matches in all competitions in consecutive December, losing 5 games in both 2023 and 2024. Mo Salah, again, has been involved in 11 Premier League goals in December, 6 goals and 5 assists. Only Suarez in 2013 has ever had more goal involvements in 1 month, 10 goals and 4 assists. Ridiculous company. Isak is December's Premier League top goal scorer with 7 goals. He has also created the most chances in December with 17. Mo Salah has become the 8th player to score 100 home goals in the Premier League. He scored 2 at Chelsea and 98 at Anfield. Since Amorim's first game in charge in November, only Southampton have lost more games than them in all competitions, which is 6. Man United have lost 5. Bruno Fernandes is the first Manchester United player to be sent off 3 times in a season since 09-08, when this happened to Vidic. Chelsea have lost a Premier League game they were leading as late as the 82nd minute for the first time since October 1999, when they were ahead until the 83rd minute, when they lost 3-2, when Nwankwo Kanu scored a hat-trick. I watched that game. Very painful. Cole Palmer has been involved in 52 goals in his first 50 Premier League starts, 34 goals and 18 assists. Only Haaland, 64, and Andy Cole, 57, have been involved in more across their first 50 starts. Anthony Gordon has scored or assisted in 3 consecutive Premier League games for the first time. Manchester City have dropped 12 points from winning positions in the Premier League this season. It's already more than they did last season, which was 10. For the first time since 2017, this was Manchester City's first time to not play Kyle Walker, Maddison, John Stones, or Grealish in a game. Arne Slot becomes the 4th manager to be on top of the Premier League on Christmas Day in his first season in the competition, after Jose Mourinho, Carlo Ancelotti, and Antonio Conte. And all those managers won the league that season. Ominous. Manchester City as 7th. There is no team that has been number 7 on Christmas Day that has finished higher than 4th at the end of the season. Chelsea are the first team to spend Christmas Day in the top 2, having been as low as 10th on the same day the previous season. Chelsea were the last team to do this in 2015-16, and then won in 2016-17, when they were 15 in the 15-16 season and 1st in the next season. Maybe there's something more to come. Leicester City are the only team to be bottom of the table on Christmas the next year, and then top of the table the next year. That was just ridiculous. Miracle. Manchester United spent Christmas as 13th on the table. This is their lowest since they were 15th in 1986 under new manager Sir Alex Ferguson. The most selected player was Mo Salah. The most captain player was Mo Salah. The most vice-captain player was Palmer. Isak is the most brought-in player, with 530,000 bringing him in. Cunha, second most brought-in player, 365,000 bringing him in. Gordon, third, 339,000 people bringing him in. Ola Aina, fourth, 275,000 bringing him in. Sarr, fifth, 238,000 bringing him in. Saka, most player dropped, 535,000. And also, it must be mentioned, Saka received surgery and will be out for 2 months. Bruno Fernandes, 497,000 removing him. Haaland, 226,000 removing him. João Pedro, 221,000 removing him. Emil Smith-Rowe, 191,000 removing him. The average of the game week was 51. So if you got 50 like me, sorry, do better. If you got 51 and above, well done. The highest points was 118. The team name is I'm Sorry Nick Jackson. Ooh, I am for real. Anyway, this manager used a bench boost. In goal, they had Kepa, who got him 8, Hall, who got him 6, Bissaka 9, Vardiol 2, Enzo 2, Bowen 8, Palmer 10, Salah 18 as captain, Nicholas Jackson 2, Cunha 12, Isak 8. And his bench really did the business. Verbruggen 9, Estepinian 6, Gordon 10, Huijsen 8. When it comes to our table, the manager who got the highest points was manager of Der Schmetterling, who got 90 points. They used the free hit, and it was a great free hit. In goal, they had Raya, who gave him 6, Huijsen, who gave him 8, Kerkes, who gave him 6, Virgil van Dijk 2. He had Salah as captain, who gave him 18, Palmer gave him 10, Semenyo gave him 3, Gordon gave him 10, and then up top he had Cunha, who had 12, Isak 8, and Havertz 7. And that's how they got 90 points. At the top of the table, we have John Mongemi, who is now out, right, our leader. He has 1188 points, got 67 points. Number 2 is Tenor FC, managed by Texas Tens, who got 66 points and are just behind by 1 point with 1187. Abdallah Kili is number 3 with 1172. Yusufa Mukoko got 1171. Der Schmetterling, his performance has seen him rise the table. He has 1168. Peter Checkmate has 1167. At number 7, we have Duboy FBL, who has 1164. At number 8, we have the Walker Dead, our former leader, who has 1163. Spatharo Candidatos is number 9. They have 1160. And at number 10, we have Brian Murilla, who has 1145. And so between number 1 and number 10, it is a 43-point gap. At the bottom of the table, we have Don Clinton, who made use of his wild card already. Thank you for saving your points, and got 62 points. They now have 451 points. Just above him is Duncan Anzigare, manager of Real Vincenza, who has 659. And then, for me, this is where I consider the real last person, Noel Ritchie, number 235, has 730 points. Freddie Fariz has 735. Neville Jabali has 739. Boaz Ogala has 743. And Mark Yoche has 746. So after the 2 relegated people, we have a race for the bottom. The second highest points getter in our group was Sir Carlos Venga, who got 86. Alvin O, Capien de Massive, got 85. John Lucas, manager of Uber Eats, got 83. And at number 5, we have Majestic Lewis, manager of Majestic FC, who got, or rather Majestic CF, who got 82 points. The overall rank riser this week was El Bicho, who rose 728,000 positions. In our league, Edwin Candie has risen 41 positions. They were helped by using the wildcard, which was a great decision because it got them 81 points. Simnani Jua, manager of Who Has Eyes to Sexy, has increased his team value by 0.8. Well done. The highest scored value is still Mr. Suraj Baigane, 105.4. The most transfers made this week were by manager Patrick Kaiser, who made 12 transfers. They lost 36 points to get 51 points. Looking at the team, it's a bit painful because he had Bruno Fernandes -2, Maddison 0, Soboslai 0 in the midfield. That's painful. Then on the bench, Luis Diaz 0, John Duran -2. Sometimes it's just not your day. When it comes to popular captain choices, Salah was an overwhelming favourite, with 176 people choosing him as captain. Haaland was captained by 19 managers. I think that might be the least so far. 18 people captained Palmer. 7 people captained Isak. 3 people captained Havertz. 2 people captained Nicholas Jackson. 2 others captained Solanke. 2 captained Saka. I guess they must have forgotten. Cunha was captained by 1. Haaland still managed by 1. De Bruyne still by the same 1. Luis Diaz 1. Diogo Jota 1, Trent 1, João Pedro 1, oh that's painful, and Gabriel Jesus 1. Sometimes just going with the flow is the right way. Salah is on top for a reason, just trust it. The person who made the best transfer decisions this week was of course Kelvin Mochilimo, manager of Der Schmetterling. Had he left his team as it was, he would have gained 37 points less, or rather it would have been 37 points lower than what he got. Number 2 was Mohamed Jibril, who got 35 points. Great transfers. Number 3 was also 35 points by Noel Ritchie. Number 4 was Aflagani, 30 points. And then number 5 was Moses Mushiri, 29 points. Well done, you guys. Good decisions. When it comes to streak of green arrows, Brian Murillo has been on the global ranks for the 10th straight week. Keep on rising, brother. The team with the most goal scorers was Der Schmetterling, who had 6 different goal scorers. When it comes to somebody not doing well, TK Sui fell 936 positions this week. When it comes to league dropper, TK Sui dropped 41 positions this week. When it comes to the team with the lowest points, you have the manager, Gift Omulangi, who got manager of Gift Troni. He got 17 points. So, in goal he had Raya, who gave him 6. Then he had Saliba, who gave him 7. Akanji, who gave him 2. De Ligt, who gave him 0. Bruno, who gave him -2. Saka, who gave him 0. Kudus, who gave him 3. Longstaff, who gave him 0. What? This guy has Ivan Toney. Okay, this guy is not serious. Of course, Ivan Toney gave him 0. Ivan Toney, wow. Watkins gave him 1. And Haaland gave him 0. Wow. Talk about setting and leaving your team. How early did he make his team to have Ivan Toney? That's quite something. And if I'm not wrong, this guy was one of our top performers early on in the season. Number 2 in lowest points had 23 points. Number 3 had 27. Number 4 had 28 and number 5 had 29. Noel Ritchie has the lowest team value with 97 million. Wow. And the other guy has 105.4. That's quite a gap. Aflagani, his team has lost the most value with 1.2 million, getting off his team value. Unluckiest manager this week falls to Spartans FC manager Hector Orembo, who left 28 points on the bench. He had Aitanuri 6, Murillo 8, and Cunha 12, and the goalkeeper 2. Der Schmetterling got 22 points on the bench, on top of being 90 points ahead. Isn't that ridiculous? On top of gaining 90 points this week. Ibrahim Ali was number 2 with 24. Number 3 and 4 was a tie for 22 with Der Schmetterling and El Fleek. And number 5 was 22 points on the bench as well. Neville Jabali made the most transfer disappointing outcomes this week. Had he left his team, it would have just performed better. He lost 11 from the changes made. Number 2, Abel Kivunja, 10 points lower than he would have done. Johnny Watson, 10 points as well. Victor Nyabola, -8. Mr. Dango, -8 as well. The problem with fantasy is that you never know when to leave your team and when to make the changes. I'm going through that motion right now. TK Sui, 15 game weeks in a row, they've been performing poorly. That is 15 streaks of red arrows. The game week starts. On Sunday, there's literally only one day break between the games. How tight is this December? I can't wait for some pace and space in January. And by pace, I just mean a steady pace. December has been wild. First game of the day will see Leicester take on Manchester City. These are two teams in poor form, and there's an opportunity here for Mr. Ruud van Nistelrooy. First of all, I have to give props to Ruud van Nistelrooy. Every fault I have kept saying about Leicester, he has changed. I talked about Faish, he removed him. I talked about Mr. Danny Ward, he's removed him. He wasn't even on the bench. I didn't even know they had that many keepers. But he's not even on the bench, and I think that's great. That guy should be released. Of course, Manchester City have the better head-to-head record, but as it stands, Manchester City are in unknown territory. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Let's just see. Now, Hamilton, Pereira, Faiz, Ndidi, Fatawu, Makatir are injured. Ayew, the goal scorer in the last game, is suspended. Bob, Grealish, Rodri, Nunes, Diaz, Stones, Edison, Walker are injured for City. They honestly still have a good enough squad to win. Now, when it comes to Manchester City, if you do not already have their players, do not get into the game. There's no point. Wait for them to recover some sort of form. They're too expensive. However, if you still have them, Haaland, Savinho, Foden are probably the best options. But Silva has been scoring of late, so maybe him if you have to get a player. On the other end, maybe Vardy is back. Maybe he will start. If it's not, it will be Patson Daka. Buonanotte, and Mavididi. Crystal Palace take on Southampton, and this is a great game for a possible clean sheet for Crystal Palace. Riyadh is injured along with Wharton, Hughes, and Franca. Gay is suspended, which means he won't score an own goal now. For Southampton, Bazunu, Stevens, Larios, Smallbone, and Stewart are out. Crystal Palace have been in good form of late. They drew last time out. Southampton were beaten last time out, but it was a narrow loss. Honestly, I can see Crystal Palace winning this game or them drawing this game. And for Crystal Palace, I would recommend Henderson, maybe Chalobah, and Sarr. And if you're going forward, maybe Eze Matata Sarr. If you're in the back, maybe Mitchell, Chalobah, or Henderson. I wouldn't recommend you getting a Southampton player, but if you have to, I would say Howard Bellis, Ramsdale, and Onuachu. Of course, Southampton haven't won in 9 games. They haven't scored in the last 2 matches, and they've only scored 1 in the last 5. Palace have scored 8 in the last 5, so at least they're better. Everton versus Nottingham Forest. This game has 1-0 written all over it, but also it just feels like it's going to be defensively tight because both teams have been great at defense. Everton have beaten Forest the last 2 times they played each other, so they may be the bogey team. Coleman, Garner, Eric Burnham, Ndiaye are out. Ndiaye is doubtful. Danilo, Sangare, and Yates are unavailable for this game. If you're looking to go forward, Gibbs-White, Elanga, and Wood are the best choices for Forest, even though Wood has been quiet over the last 4 or 3 game weeks. If you're looking for defense, Ola Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo, Sells, whichever 1 or 2 of those people is your guy, choose them. On the other end for Everton, Pickford, Tarkowski, Mikolenko are your best bets. I can no longer make the Everton joke of they've scored 4 goals in the last 5 games because they scored 5 goals in the last 5 games, but now they've scored in 2 different games. Fulham versus Bournemouth. I was honestly surprised that Bournemouth didn't score or win their last game. Fulham surprised everybody by winning their last game. So it'll be an interesting game because both teams are dangerous and can really hurt each other. There have been 2 draws, 2 victories for Bournemouth, and 1 victory for Fulham in their last 5 games. I honestly don't know how to call this. I would say Fulham are slight favorites, but they're playing Bournemouth. Bournemouth can beat anybody. With Fulham, I would say the defense and midfield are where it's at. But the problem is picking the right person. Robinson is good, Leno is good, Bassi was great against Chelsea, Castagna goes forward, Traore can create. So I don't know how to recommend the Fulham player because, and then also Harry Wilson will come on and will be an impactful player. On the other end, you have Bournemouth players. Semenyo is still their most dangerous player. Evan Nilsson has gone quiet. Billing might be good, and Ouattara. And maybe Christie or Cook. Like I said the last time, it's really hard to know what you're going to get from these guys. So just choose the one that works for you and just carry on. From both of these teams, just choose your players, the ones that you like, and just keep moving. For Fulham, Sander Berge is out, Tete, Emma Smith-Rowe, Reed, and Nelson. For Bournemouth, you have Smith, Araujo, Senesi, Scott, Clivert, Sinistera, Tavernier, all unavailable. So they might be limited moving forward. Tottenham versus Wolves. Tottenham is a team that absolutely frustrates me, and somehow I have 2 players from their team. I can't explain myself. But something interesting to note is that Wolves have beaten Tottenham 4 of their last 5 encounters. So to that end, given that record and the new manager bounce, it's looking like this is Wolves written all over it. However, Tottenham are unpredictable, and to that end, I'm going to believe in Kulusevski, Solanke, and Pedro Porro. On the other end, we all thought Cunha was going to be suspended, but he won't be. So you have Cunha, Guedes, and I guess Nuri. Until this new manager bounce finishes, let's see where it takes us. West Ham take on Liverpool, and as the biggest hater of Lopetegui, I must say that he has done well. He has done well. I thought he would have been gone by now, but I was wrong. Their head-to-head favors Liverpool, as you might guess. 4 victories, 1 draw. Liverpool are on top. Best team in Europe, best team in England. I believe in them. I think they will win this game. I think West Ham will try, but I just don't know if they have enough. Kilman, Soler, Rodriguez, Suchek, Antonio are unavailable. Bradley, Konate, and Szoboszlai are unavailable for Liverpool. Now, this game is so weird because Liverpool are so frustrating, especially Mr. Slot, because you never know who's going to play between Diaz, Jota, and Gakpo. And you will be right 1 of 3 times. But Salah will always play. When Szoboszlai finishes his suspension, he will play. So I would say, if you have your Liverpool defender, keep him. If you have Mo Salah, play him. If you don't have Mo Salah, just close your eyes and bring him on. Just do that. Whether you hate Liverpool or blah, 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 this is a game you're playing. Nobody cares about your personal beliefs. Bring in Salah. And then you pick maybe McAllister, since you know he'll play. But then after that, maybe you pick of Jota, Silva, or Gakpo. Whichever one you believe will play. I do not have that answer. On the West Ham end, it is clear that you only have really 3 choices. Paqueta, Bowen, and Kudus. That's it. Aston Villa will take on Brighton. Aston Villa were trounced last time out, while Brighton kept an impressive clean sheet. Aston Villa will be without John Duran, so it means they may be limited going forward. It will be an interesting game because both teams are fun to watch. However, they're not in form, so it makes it a bit harder to predict. If you're one of those guys who has Aston Villa defenders, you could have Cash or Konsa, and then going forward, if you believe in Watkins, have him. If you don't, just stick with like a McGinn or a Rodgers. But this isn't the game to enter Aston Villa. Brighton keeping a clean sheet is rare, so I wouldn't recommend their defenders. However, going forward, you really have Mitoma. After Mitoma, maybe Enciso. I am reluctant to recommend a striker from this game from Brighton. No João Pedro, no Welbeck. So don't bring on Cash. He's suspended. Duran is suspended. Ramsey is injured. On the other end, Webster, Welbeck, Kadioglu, Hinshelwood, Milner, Weaver are unavailable. Honestly, I just wouldn't recommend you to bring a player in from this fixture. They're just not doing well right now. And so there's no clear standout performer. Ipswich take on Chelsea. Ipswich are at home and they'll be looking to get this win. However, just as you saw against Arsenal, they are not a great team, but they're not easy to beat. You should think they would lose more, but they don't lose. Well, they lose, but they don't lose convincingly. Honestly, they should have been hammered by Arsenal. I'm thinking that a lot of people will be captaining Palmer for this game, but Palmer scores at home. I struggle to see a hammering in this game because both teams are not impressive right now. When it comes to Chelsea, Nicholas Jackson, Mr. Palmer, and your third player, if it's your Neto, if it's your Madueke, or if it's Sancho, just whoever your third player is, choose the one. If it's Enzo, choose that person. Or if you think they're going to keep a clean sheet, choose your defender. Chelsea are unconvincing to me going forward and defending. And so it makes it hard to struggle to recommend a defender. So I'll just say, if you already have one, stick with the one that you have. Badiashile, Chukwuemeka, Dewsbury Hall, Madueke, James, Lavia, Fofana are unavailable. Madueke may be back because when I read the interview, it said that Maresca was resting him for non-footballing reasons. Ogbene, Luongo, Hurst, Slicker, Twanzebe are unavailable for Ipswich. Delap, Smotsic, Hutchinson are the players that I recommend from Ipswich. The marquee game will be Manchester United versus Newcastle. Manchester United have had a horrible December, And this might just wrap it up. Newcastle have been impressive of late, and Isak, Gordon, Murphy have been great performers. And then at the back, Dubravka has been good. Lewis Hall has been good. Livramento, that situation's tricky because of Trippier. And then you have Dunburn or Mr. Shah. Really, it really depends on how you want to split your resources. If you want to invest in going forward, I've already told you the players. If you want to invest in staying back, those are the players to look at. Manchester United will be without Bruno. It's really hard to recommend a player from their team right now. And so the best Bruno replacement is just getting out of this team. Fernandes is suspended. Ugarte is suspended. Shaw, Mount, Lindelof are unavailable. Wilson, who I don't know when this guy ever plays. Wilson, Kraft, Lascelles, Trippier, Pope, Botman are injured. Trippier is doubtful. He may or may not play. I wouldn't recommend you to get into Manchester United right now. But if somehow you're that fan and you have unreasonable belief, then maybe Haaland, Ahmad, and your pick of Mazrui or Dalot. But don't do it. Amorim is still trying to figure out who his best players are and what their best positions are. And so far, not good. The last game of the game week will take place on New Year's Day next year. It will be Brentford versus Arsenal. Now, Brentford's form of late has been meh. You just don't know who's going to perform. If you believe in them going forward, it's going to be Wissa and Bumo. If you believe in them at the back, just pick your defender who's available. And speaking of availability, Hickey, me, Pinnock, Gomez, Rodriguez, Da Silva, Aja, Flekken, Jensen, Henry, Van der Berg, all unavailable for Brentford. Arsenal, Ben White, Saka, Sterling, Tomiyasu unavailable. Given the depth of squads, I think Arsenal should be favoured in this game, even though Brentford do perform well at home. Because they do perform well at home, this should be a game for Wissa and Bumo. However, Arsenal have been great defensively, but they tend to score out, or rather they tend to concede when they are away from home. So if you're thinking of bringing on an Arsenal defender because they have a good run coming up, I would suggest that you get Gabriel because he tends to score or assist from his position somehow. And then going forward, maybe Havertz and Trossard. When it comes to captain choices, when you look at the Leicester Man City game, if you still have Haaland, he would be a captain. He got 0 last time, so don't risk it. Crystal Palace could be an interesting game for captaincy. And if you want to gamble, Sarr could be a great gamble here. Everton versus Forest. Elanga, or even a defender. Fulham versus Bournemouth. I don't see a clear captain choice here. Spurs versus Wolves. Cunha is a clear captain choice here. On the Spurs end, I don't know why you'd be wanting to captain somebody, but if you have to, I would say Solanke or Kulusevski. West Ham, Liverpool, Salah, number 1. That's it. Aston Villa, Brighton. I wouldn't choose a captain, but if I had to, but I won't, it would be... I'm not even going to recommend a captain. I don't see a captain in this game. Chelsea versus Ipswich. Palmer, captain. Then number 2, Nicholas Jackson. Man United, Newcastle. Clear captain choices. Mr. Isak. Then if you're looking at number 2, maybe Gordon. Arsenal, Brentford. Havertz would be a good captain choice here. Maybe a Gabriel or maybe even Trossard. And if you believe in Brentford's home form, Wissa. I'm not going to look at the next 5 fixtures this week, but we will look at them in the next game week. Because it's the end of the year, I want to start January from January. Anyway, I hope you all bring in the new year safely. Have a great game week. See you all in the new year. Bye.